last any longer. Day by day it's getting stronger. I want it and you want it. It's what the people want to see. We're like Romeo and Juliet. Families came to find us, like the tallest mountain on the widest sea.
Hey guys, my name is Natalie.
And I'm Jeevan.
And today we are recording our first video for YouTube to talk about our interracial relationship. I am Mexican and Puerto Rican.
And I'm Indian.
And we have been together for going on 6 years now. We wanted to start this channel because we've been through a lot of ups and downs with our differences in culture, religion, race, and yeah. So we met in high school when I was 16 and you were
18.
18.
Just turned 18.
And we had our 5th period psychology class together. I didn't really know him. We just had a class together. We never really talked or anything. And then one day...
What happened?
You don't remember. One day he added me on Facebook. And I saw his name, but I was just like, who the heck is this? Like, I have no clue who Prem Jeevan is. And so I looked through his pictures, and then I saw that he looked familiar, so I was like, okay, I'll add him back. So I added him, and then he messaged me, and he was just like, hey, how are you? And then we kind of talked from there, and then... Was that the time when you were asking me about prom, or was it after that?
It was after that.
After that. So yeah, he messaged me once, like, just getting to know each other a little bit. And then he messaged me a few days later again, but we never talked in class. Like, he would never approach me. He would just act like I wasn't even there.
Try to do the cool.
Yeah.
Stunt.
And then, what happened? Yeah, so he messaged me again, like, a few days later, and he was like, oh, are you going to prom? But I had just kind of recently gone through breakup, so I was totally anti-prom, like, I didn't feel like going. And I was just against it. And then I told him no, and I asked him if he was going, and what was your response?
It's like, yeah, I was just trying to find the perfect somebody to go with.
Yeah, so he was trying to find a date. And then he said he wanted to ask this girl in our class, in our 5th period psychology, so I was like, okay. I thought he was going to ask one of our friends, a girl on my soccer team. And so then he started asking me for, like, ideas on how to ask this girl to prom, this mystery girl. And then I started giving him some ideas, but then he was like, oh, never mind, it's okay. I know what I'm going to do. So then the next day, right? It was the next day or 2 days later?
A couple days later.
Yeah, it was like maybe like 2 or 3 days later. He comes to school with, you want to grab it?
Yeah.
It's right behind you. With this ball. And during class, so this was like early in the morning, I saw him walking with the ball kind of like, just like under his arm like that. So I didn't see any of the writing or anything on it. But I was kind of suspicious, like, oh, he's going to ask, you know, our friend today. And so we were walking to, or I was walking to 5th period that day to psychology class, the class we had together. And I was running late, and I just see him standing outside in the hallway with the ball, and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna ask our friend. And so I'm like turning around trying to see if she's behind me, and then, yeah.
Yeah, well, I had the idea from before, and I had to ask some questions, had to snoop around a little bit. Figured out that she loves soccer, been playing soccer pretty much her whole life. So got a soccer ball, and instead of doing the piece of paper or whatnot,
The poster, yeah, all the...
I decided to write it on the ball. Oh.
So this is prom on there with a
Prom,
question mark.
Question mark. It has... Our prom was actually in San Francisco in the Bay.
On a yacht.
On a yacht. Had some flowers on there. I had a friend write it because I can't write for shit.
He said his handwriting is like chicken scratch.
Yeah, so I kind of was waiting for her right outside our 5th period class. Everybody knew about it, and except she didn't know.
Yeah.
So as soon as she came in, everyone kind of just went into class, or they kind of separated and trying to think it wasn't like very obvious. So I called her name. I was like, Natalie. And she turned around, or she was looking at me and kind of just rolled the ball at her.
Yeah. So he rolled the ball to me. I picked it up and I was like, oh my god, he's asking me to prom. And then, mind you, I hadn't really known him for very long, but I was like, okay, well, I was just honestly in shock because I really did think he was going to ask our friend. And so I picked it up and then he's like, you have to check yes or no. So I said yeah, and then we walked into class like normal. And I think, did we sit together that day?
Yeah, everybody in class knew what was going to happen.
So when we walked in,
everyone cheered in, clapping. We walked in holding hands. And
yeah. So I talked to my parents about how he had asked me to prom and let them know that he, everything that happened, he rolled me the ball. And mainly I told my mom because I think my dad was traveling at the time for work. And her response was just like, oh, okay, that's good. But at the same time, she was like, who the hell is this guy who never mentioned him once? And so one of her rules was like, okay, you can go as long as me and your dad meet him beforehand. And so I told Jeevan that he had to meet my parents before we went to prom or anything because they're pretty strict. And so he agreed. And then we met at Yogurtland with my dad, my brother, and my mom. And they instantly loved him. Like, they got to know him a little bit. And I don't know, they just kind of asked you like general questions, right?
Yeah, it was like an interrogation.
Yeah, pretty much they interrogated him. But they just wanted to know like what time we would be home from prom.
Yeah, asked a little bit about who I am.
Yeah.
What I'm all about.
Like his values and stuff like that.
Asked about prom, how's school going.
Yeah.
Kind of got down to what's the plan for prom?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Where is it at? Who's going to be there? Supervision. I had to think it over.
They wanted to know everything, huh?
Everything.
Yeah. Pretty much like, what are you going to do from when you get there to when you get home? Which is fine. I understand, like, my parents, and in the Hispanic culture, usually for the girls, it's like, it's always like that. Like, your parents are usually more strict on you on girls than they are on guys. I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but usually that's kind of true. Huh?
Yep. Indian culture as well.
And Indian culture too, yeah. So after they got to know him, they said it was fine. Then we got to know each other so he asked me to prom in like February. Like late February, maybe early March. But we got to know each other for like a month and a half before prom was actually here. And like the subject of his family never really came up. Like I remember we were walking around school one day, and then I was asking him like, oh, how is your family? What are they like? But I never really asked about meeting them because we weren't officially together. We were still just talking and friends, like getting to know each other. And so I never really pushed it. And then he did mention like, oh, my family has, property in Fresno, and like got to know them or about them. And then I was actually friends with his sister before I even knew about him, which is funny.
Don't bring that up.
And so then prom came around, and by then I was like, okay, I really, really like this guy, but I don't think he's as into me as I am into him because he still hasn't asked me to be his girlfriend. It's already been like almost 3 months that we've been talking, and I don't know. So I was just kind of like, are you going to ask me anytime soon? But I didn't actually directly ask him. So prom came around, he came over to my house, we took a bunch of pictures with my family. He got to meet my nana, my tata, how Mexican families are. They like make it a huge, huge occasion where everyone's here to take pictures. Like almost like if it were our wedding and it was just our prom, but it was a lot of fun. And then, so we took a lot of pictures, and then we took off to prom. And then I remember, I think I asked you, like, what about your family? Like, are they going to come take pictures with us or anything like that? But, but he said that it wasn't really, like, that his mom had taken pictures of him at their house. So I was just like, okay. And then we got to prom. Like he said, it was on a yacht in San Francisco. So we took buses from school to SF, and then we got there. We boarded the yacht, and it was awesome. It was like one of the most amazing nights of my life. or it was, I should say. And then
That's when I asked her to be my girlfriend out under the bridge. It's perfect. It was like one of those movie things.
Yeah, it's super
time.
cheesy. So we were passing under the Golden Gate Bridge, and he pulled out, I think I have it here too, your class ring?
Oh,
Yeah. So he pulled out his class ring, and he was like, back then my fingers were a lot smaller, so it used to fit. But he was like, will you be my girlfriend? I said, yeah. And then we just pretty much danced the night away. And so from then on, from that night, I went home and I was like, I'm not going to tell my parents yet because I just want to let the night like sink in, enjoy it, and then tell them tomorrow. So I told them the next day, and then they were like, oh, congratulations, you know, we can't wait to meet his family. And in the back of my mind, I hadn't really put much thought into it, but I was like, oh yeah, that's true, I do need to meet his family. So my mom and dad both mentioned like, okay, you know, there's going to be rules to your relationship as far as like how late you can stay out, how late you can stay on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And so they wanted to make sure that their rules matched with his parents' rules as well. Mm-hmm. And so my parents kept pushing it, like, when are we going to meet them? So I was like, okay, let me ask him when we can all meet. So I asked him, and then I don't know, you kind of just mentioned, like, I'm not really allowed to date, right?
Yeah, I was just kind of like, it's not really the time for me to date.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, that's fine, you know, I understand. Your parents probably can't know that we're dating yet because we were still young. Like I said, he had just turned 18, I had just turned 16. And so I figured they probably wanted him to be done with high school before he started dating anyone. And so I just told my parents, like, oh yeah, they'll get to it, they're just busy with work and stuff like that, kind of avoiding it. And then we just kind of let it be for a while. My parents didn't really push too much on it anymore. And then Father's Day, right? Father's Day came around, I think it was like 2011?
2011.
Yeah, we had barely been dating for like a few months. And so Jeevan called me crying that night. And I didn't know why. I was just like super worried, wondering what had happened. And he said that he couldn't tell me over the phone. So now he knows that my pet peeve is like, if something's wrong, you just tell me then and there. Like, don't lead it on, don't drag it on, just tell me. But back then he didn't know, so he was just like, I'll just tell you tomorrow, not over the phone. So I was like, okay, I hope everything's okay. So I didn't sleep at all that night, and I'm pretty sure he didn't either. And then he came over the next day, and I saw that he was in his mom's car, and I was like, that's weird. Maybe his mom is going to meet me today. So then he gets out of the car, and I saw the look on his face, and I was like, okay, something is definitely wrong. And so what happened after that? You came inside.
My parents talked to me the night before, kind of found out what was happening, kind of just told me that, you know, you have to break up with her and you can't be with her and without, or either that or you're not going to be part of this family anymore. So
it was kind of like, they found out that we were dating, first of all, through social media and stuff like that. And they told him that he had to come to my house and break up with me because it wasn't acceptable in their culture. And so when he came here, we went into the backyard, and then we sat down, we started talking, and he basically just told me that that his dad said that we couldn't date anymore because of the differences in culture and race, right? Kind of race. Mm-hmm. Mainly just culture, because he said that not only did he have to date a Punjabi woman, right? But also a woman who's within the same caste. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, do you want to explain the caste system a little bit?
Yeah, so the caste kind of goes, there are certain people called the Jats, and then you have certain other people like the Sanis and other stuff. There's like a whole long list. And usually the old traditional Indian people, they marry within the cast. So a Jut would marry a Jut, a Sani would marry Sani, etc. and etc.
Mm-hmm.
So not only there's like requirements
Yeah.
that you had to do. So it was
Tough. Yeah.
tough times.
So he said that like not only did he have to marry, like that he wouldn't have an arranged marriage basically, but he had to choose. He could choose his own wife, but that she had to be, like he said, within the same caste as him. And so that was the first I had ever heard of anything like that. Like I don't know. It was the first time I've ever been in an interracial relationship like this. And so I was just kind of like, wait, what? It didn't really fully sink in until later. And then, so we just kind of talked about it and tried to figure out what to do. I mean, it's difficult when it's not your choice, like when somebody else is choosing for you, and saying that you can't be together. So we didn't really know where to go from there. So we ended up both agreeing on hiding our relationship from his parents and even a little bit from my parents, because I knew my family wouldn't accept that we could hide. Like they wouldn't be okay with that. They wanted to meet his family, they wanted me to be shown off to the world and vice versa. So from there we agreed to hide our relationship, and that lasted for maybe like another 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years. So for 2 years we hid our relationship from his parents, and then somewhat from my parents. My parents knew what was going on and they were supportive. They tried to be as supportive as they could, but I know as a parent it's hard to see like your son or daughter being hidden and stuff like that. So I understood where they were coming from, but at the same time I was angry because I just wanted them to see like that I'm super in love with him. And that I just wanted us to be together. Like at the end of the day, the relationship is between him and I, not anyone else. And so, yeah, from there, what happened?
Well, pretty much kept in secret. You know, it was hard for her as much as it was for me.
Yeah.
A lot of it kind of bounced back. Like I try to reinforce it, but you know, it's hard to change your parents' decision, especially when you're that young. And
Yeah.
as an Indian culture, it's hard for a kid to just move out on their own.
Yeah.
It's usually you stay with your parents for the rest of your life. If you're a boy, if you have 2 boys or many boys in families, if you're brothers, usually the youngest one or the oldest one will usually take care of them. And the parents will usually stay with you until they're ready to pass. But so it was hard for me to go ahead and do that because a life without anything,
His
you know,
family.
without my family,
Yeah.
it was kind of well off. It was hard. So it was a tough decision I had to make, and but you know, I really, 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 really loved Natalie, so I was just kind of like,
I love you too.
I didn't know what else I had to do, but I wanted to keep going, and as long as she was willing to fight, and it was pretty much dark until
Maybe like, I think it's been a year now since his parents found out officially. So we dated, we've never officially broken up. That day that he came over, we didn't break up. In between the time, you know, between almost 6 years, we've never officially broken up. Just according to them and what they knew, we were not together. And so we had to hide. It was really, 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 really difficult. But like June said, everything was totally worth it. And it is possible. It really is. It's not easy, but it gives you a greater value for your relationship. And it takes a lot out of you as a couple. It makes you stronger.
Yeah. Always keep fighting.
Yeah.
You never know. Because you truly don't want, if you know who the person is and that's the person you want to be with for the rest of your life, you have to fight.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
It doesn't matter anything else. Like, love conquers all. So.
Definitely. So yeah, from there we hit our relationship, and then within this past year they found out officially that we were dating, that we had never stopped dating in between. That's just something that we had told them. And I just want to put this out there that I completely respect his family, his culture, his race, his religion, everything. Jeevan was, he grew out his beard for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he would wear a turban and everything like that, and never once did that bother me. That made me happy to be with him, just like I am now. So I accepted his choice to follow Sikh.
The Sikh religion.
Or Sikh, yeah. And whatever he wanted to do, I was supportive of him, just like he's supportive of me in whatever I want to do. And so it is possible, and like we said, it is difficult to overcome like the differences in culture when it comes to family and stuff like that. But honestly, when I see him, I don't see like, oh, he's Indian, and I'm pretty sure when he sees me, he doesn't see, oh, I'm Mexican. We just see each other, yeah. And I see Jeevan, and yeah, so that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yay! Okay, I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for watching our video today. We hope to make more videos like this in the future. If you liked our video, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And anything else?
Yep. Please subscribe.
Yes.
We'd love to hear what's going on, and we'll love to hear back from you.
Yeah, let us know if you liked it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.